Fallout New Vegas is the epitome of perfect world building in a video game. I am a huge fan of very rich open world environments and games, but for me, Fallout New Vegas just perfects this in a way that no other game ever has for me, or probably ever will. Everything from the in-game graphic design to the characters, I've just never felt more like I live in the Mojave Desert than if I actually lived in the Mojave Desert. Hello, my name is Emma of Emmalition, and today I'll be talking about what Fallout New Vegas means to me.
You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
So when I first picked up this game, it was because I enjoyed Fallout 3 so much, I knew I had to play the sequel or I may die. And I found it really hard to believe that Fallout 3 could be topped. But the opening sequence to New Vegas was just so epic. I knew I was going to be in for a good ride. As soon as you see Benny and his cronies and he gives you that speech about the game being rigged from the start, and then he shoots you in the head and you learn that you're the courier, it just sets the scene for the kind of gangster / mob / faction approach to the game. And unlike Fallout 3, where you're kind of presented with this very vast open world where you can go and do anything, Fallout New Vegas kind of centers you on revenge from the moment you wake up after being shot in the head. And who doesn't love a good bit of revenge? I know I do. So yeah, the minute you wake up, you're like, who am I? Where am I? Let's go find this guy that shot me. And you kind of have a bit more of a solid path to go on at that point, which is always nice because it can be a bit overwhelming sometimes in open world games when there's too much to do. I think I came by my copy of the game just purely by chance. At that point, I think I was 17, and the gaming community as it is now on the internet wasn't really a thing that I was involved in. So I wasn't really hot on when things were being released other than really high profile releases like the Tomb Raiders and maybe like Call of Duty and stuff like that, but things like Fallout just sort of flew under the radar in terms of mainstream media. So I wasn't even aware that Fallout New Vegas had been released. I think I was just having a mooch in Game Station and I saw it and I was like, hang on, that's like the other game I played, it must be the same thing. So I picked it up and wow, good choices were made that day. Seriously, good choices.
Howdy, partner. Welcome to the Vicky and Vance Casino and Museum. Prim Slim at your service. Authentic cowpoke and official spoke spot of the Vicky and Vance Casino and Museum. Yeehaw!
So, like I said, I was 17. I first played Fallout New Vegas when I was in college, which meant I had a lot of time on my hands, compared to now where I don't really get to absorb myself in games in the same way I did when I was a teenager, which is a bit of a shame. But when you're in college, you know, you're not there all the time. It's not a 9 to 5. You don't have any responsibilities. Life isn't getting you down. You're not jaded by the world, etc. And, you know, you have a lot of time to pour into games, and Fallout New Vegas took over my life. And it was a weird transitional period of my life where I think I started to feel more like myself as a person. I don't have the most obvious connection with this game, like maybe I do with some others. But I think because I'd left school and I was kind of, you know, I was growing up a bit, I was starting to find out what I liked for me, and not because other people liked them. And I think playing this game made me understand a lot about myself because of maybe the themes. Slight segue here. my favorite James Bond movie is Casino Royale, and I guess you could kind of relate it to Fallout New Vegas in that there's some gambling involved and there's some casinos, and I think I was playing it like, this reminds me of Casino Royale, my favorite James Bond movie, and then I was like, maybe I'm just kind of into the vibe around casinos. Not that I gamble. I don't gamble. Don't gamble, kids, but I do enjoy, the only way to describe it is the vibe. And I kind of hate people that talk about vibes all the time, but it's just a vibe, guys. It really is. It's just lights, and there's an Elvis character called the King, and you can play Caravan, which is a card game. You're on the Vegas Strip, and it's just kind of magical and scary because, we're in the post-apocalypse. There's mutants around, but if you can look past that at the beauty of the scenery, you'll have a nice time.
War never changes. When atomic fire consumed the earth, those who survived did so in great underground vaults. When they opened, their inhabitants set out across the ruins of the old world to build new societies, establishing villages, forming tribes.
I think the moment it clicked for me that this was my favorite game, or one of my favorite games, was when I was at university and I started to write essays about the themes. So I did English at university, but I managed to squeeze a little bit of philosophy, sociology, all that good stuff into my essays about games, because my uni just let me do what I wanted, which, is always appreciated when you're a creative like me. But I remember writing an essay about greed and corporate greed and capitalism, the huge. And I used New Vegas as an example of how even 200 years after, a great war, the kind of phrase money makes the world go round is still true. Even after total devastation of the planet and what we thought were societal values, capitalism prevails, people. You cannot escape. If anything, greed is worse than it is in our time in New Vegas. There are so many forms of greed in New Vegas, not even necessarily just with regards to wealth, but there's the hunger for more territory and tribes and small nations taking each other over. Every individual in the Mojave has this unending fear of not having enough of anything, and it turns people very savage. There's, murder in the name of a couple of bottle caps, which are the currency in the game if you haven't played it. But when you really look and think, oh my god, okay, people are being killed en masse for the sake of some metal, it's a classic case of it really makes you think. And I think, when I started writing about the game at length at uni, I was thinking, this is it. This game is one of the best I have ever played. And I think, again, that made me realize something about myself, that I am very interested in the philosophies that games portray, and that's why I also love a couple of other games, like BioShock is a very philosophical game. I don't know why I just went all Sean Connery there. It's the James Bond thing coming back. I was just thinking about him, and I just had to say philosophical. Anywho.
Got some Dean Martin coming up, talking about the greatest feeling in the world, love. Ain't that a kick in the head? Sure is. Dino, it sure is.
My favorite thing about the game is probably the soundtrack. So I think New Vegas has a couple more radio stations than Fallout 3. So when you're walking around the wasteland, you can listen to music, you can listen to people chatting on the radio, and there are so many banging songs in New Vegas. It is beyond a joke how many good songs. The one that springs to mind is Ain't That a Kick in the Head, which is also the name of a quest. And I do have to thank New Vegas for giving me a sort of condensed bit of access to really cool 1940s and 1950s music because it's made me seem a lot cooler and a lot more cultured than I am on several occasions. Like if I've been at weddings or parties with maybe older family members and a song comes on that I recognize from Fallout, I can sing to it and they go, oh wow, she's in her mid-20s, but she's so cultured and she doesn't just listen to new music. And I'm like, yeah, I love old music, when really I only know it from the game. So thanks New Vegas for giving me the repertoire of someone cultured, because cultured I am not.
Jimmy! Little Jimmy! My, how you're grown up! So good of you to come visit your grandma. Oh, Jimmy, don't you go being silly now. Come over here and give your grandma some sugar.
I have played New Vegas through 3 times, I believe, because the best thing about New Vegas is that there are factions, meaning it's a very replayable game. So, unlike Fallout 3, where you're on a karma-based system making good and bad choices, in New Vegas, you get to align yourself with certain factions. So, it's really cool because it allows you to play the game a couple of times and get completely different endings depending on which faction you choose to join. So I think the first time I played the game, I went for the New California Republic, NCR faction, because they just seemed like the most morally correct faction to join at the time, I think. And then the next time I played it, I went for the Robert House Lucky 38 faction, and then finally I played it again and went for Caesar's Legion. Caesar? Is it Caesar or Kaiser? I'm never sure. But yeah, the final time I played it, I went for the totalitarian dictatorship, slave driving, strict hierarchy of psychopaths faction, and regrettably, it was enjoyable, and that made me question my own self. But I had to see what it was like, and it was kind of fun. Okay, don't judge me.
You are equipped to retrieve the technologies with your primitive form. We are not.
It's kind of embarrassing. You have hands, and a heartbeat, sort of, and eyes, mostly the hands. There's door handles and lockers and...
Enough! We need your help. Will you help us?
I have sold this game to a couple of my friends before by telling them that if you want awesome music, really cool in-game graphic design, interesting characters, super fun weapons, the best DLCs you will ever play in your life, play Fallout New Vegas. And that's what I would say. The main quests are amazing, the side quests are even more amazing. Some of the DLCs in Fallout New Vegas stand stronger than the core game itself, which I don't think a lot of games can say for their DLCs. Like Dead Money, one of the best things I've ever played in my life. It's just brilliant. So yeah, I think all in all, Fallout New Vegas just made me realize what kind of themes and vibes I like in my life that aren't related to anything else anyone's told me to play. None of my friends were playing at the time, so I wasn't doing it to seem cool. And I think it's gotten me interested in a lot of other things. Like, I would love to go to Vegas now, and I'd probably end up being really disappointed because it's not, overrun by ghouls or whatever, but I would still like to go. So just an incredible escape full of amazing characters, hilarious dialogue, really fun combat, some really great celebrity cameos, and it's just fun. It's just good bloody fun. So I don't know why I sound so mad, but that is what Fallout New Vegas means to me. And if you haven't played it, please play it. Oh my god.